Beyond 3D.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute
that I will faithfully execute
the office of President of the United States
the office of President of the United States
and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States.
the Constitution of the United States.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
Good evening, one and all. Welcome to this week's Saturday evening edition of Beyond 3D. Matt and Clint here, and it has been an interesting week and definitely an interesting 24 hours, I would say.
Good evening, Matt.
How are you?
Many Bothans are going to die because of this man.
I'll tell you what.
The Dark Lord has risen.
What can you do? And went off sort of without a hitch insofar as the pomp and the circumstance of it all.
I think Putin sent him a message just, might have been today or yesterday, saying you're going to regret this.
Well, that's the thing. I think what happens is when most presidents leaving, because I also watched Obama taking off, heading towards Andrews Air Force Base, and then on to his vacation in Palm Springs. I think you breathe a sigh of relief when you're walking out of that situation after 8 years, so, oh well, here we go again. I've heard a lot of things about the inauguration speech, one of them being that he insulted the 4 living presidents that were there with it. He insulted Washington, D.C. insiders who were all standing around him, and he was standing in the middle of Washington, D.C., and they said it was one of the most radical inauguration speeches they ever heard, and one of the shortest.
There's a photo going around of his staff waiting, the White House staff waiting for him to arrive. Mm-hmm. They all look like they're about to burst into tears. And there's Barry. Barry's off on his long-term spring break. Where's he going? Cancun?
No. He's going to Palm Springs, so he'll be golfing.
Almost the same?
Yeah, kind of, sort of. And then I know he's got, one of his daughters is still in school in Washington, D.C., so he's leasing a $22,000 a month house in Washington, D.C. until his daughter finishes her education. Then they will have a house in Hawaii and a house in Chicago in Illinois.
I've only just recently paid off my university fees.
There you go.
That's an expensive education.
There you go. But, well, guys, we now have a new president of the United States.
No, we don't.
Yeah, we all, in general, have a new president. That includes all the Australians here.
He's not my president.
He's not mine either. But the fact of the matter is they voted him in somehow, and we have to deal with it for the next 3.5 years. Unless something happens before that. Which I doubt, to be
I was just thinking with the power of positive thinking, but there's nothing positive about that. I mean, I wouldn't want to see the guy.
No, I wouldn't either. I don't think it's necessary. I think they'll self-implode, and they won't have to even go that far. We will see what happens, but it looks like they're going to be insular, so that's not going to be very nice, but we'll see what they do.
What's your opinion on how this is going to play out in the first 12 months?
In the first 12 months, nothing very much is going to happen. They're going to try to repeal the Affordable Care Act, but they will find out it is much harder than they thought it was, and they will find replacing that act is even harder than repealing it. What people don't understand with all of this stuff is it has nothing whatsoever to do with the politics of it. It has to do with insurance companies, and it has to do with the healthcare system and the fact that it is a money-making endeavor, and if you promise the citizenry of any country free healthcare, they're going to make you pay for it in some way, shape, or form. So a lot of people are going to go begging. There are already situations where people were told your treatments will stop until we get cashier's checks and or cash to pay for it. If their insurance disappears, all people that have pre-existing conditions are going to be up in arms. It's not going to be very fun. But that's what the political rhetoric was all about leading into it. So it's interesting.
A lot of people will die because of this too, won't they?
Yeah, it's already happened.
Yep.
They're already saying there have been people that have been cut off from care because insurances have run out and things like that. And, oh well, so be it. This is the way it's going to have to work for a while. We'll see what happens. There will be the honeymoon period of the 100 days, and then after that it'll be hit the ground running, and he will be blamed for everything including the implosion of the sun.
I can, quite frankly, I can see him. Let's see, who's his chief health advisor?
Health. Somebody that knows nothing about health, probably.
No, I know that, but I can see when you talk about the Affordable Care Act,
Yeah.
and whatever it is that they put in place, once it doesn't work, I can see Trump going, you're out of a job, putting somebody else in. If they don't get it right, you're out of a job, putting somebody else in.
Could
they
be.
don't get it right. He's very much a handballer.
Well, he will delegate the authority. He will expect all of the cabinet positions. He will expect all of those people to run those positions properly. And if they don't, he'll replace them with somebody else, as you said. That's just the way it's going to have to go. There's just so much. He doesn't know a lot. He's going to start to have to learn about, he wants to clear the swamp or whatever the heck he said, but you're going to learn that pomp and circumstance that they just showed today with all the parades and the dinners and the lunches and all that kind of stuff.
That's all part of the problem.
Exactly. You should be standing there going, we should be getting rid of all of this.
Yeah.
If you really want to drain that so-called swamp. But they're never going to do it.
Why would he get rid of it when he's just got in there to enjoy it now?
Well, that's the whole point. Some of the perks.
Some.
Think about it.
Some.
Think about it. You get into that kind of cushy job, and what happens? Besides, you get gray hair, but his hair's that'll never change.
That's not hair.
I know, whatever it is.
That's not. It's hair in a can.
Look what you get. You wake up in the morning. You don't have to worry about gas, electricity. You don't have to worry about water bills. You don't have to worry about phone bills. You get all your meals taken, prepared for you. You get anything you want whenever you want, as far as the basic necessities of life. You have the house to live in. You don't have to worry about any of that. Plus, if you want it, he says he doesn't, they're going to give you 400 G's a year.
What's he taking? Just $1?
$1.
$1.
Yeah. But his business was allegedly making him at least $1 million a day, so...
That's insane.
Look, he doesn't want to take the salary. He doesn't have to take the salary. But the fact of the matter is, hey, you get so much. There are so many perks. The things that we basically need every day to live, they don't have to worry about, so... I would enjoy it. You might as well. And then when you're about to leave, all right, nobody else should enjoy it, and then you do that kind of thing. But nah, it's interesting to watch. I like, quite frankly, personally, I love watching all the ceremony and the pomp and the circumstance. And you watch President Obama get on to the Marine helicopter, which was going to fly him off, and the other one, they give each other the hugs and everything like that, and then they step on and he salutes and takes off, and the other two turn around and head back into the usual.
It's very typical American Hollywood,
Yeah,
isn't it?
schlock. That's basically what it is. But it's fun to watch, and you go, oh, the transition of power, and then they get in there and start fighting with each other, the transition of power. So yeah, then you get guys like Alex Jones on the air, and going crazy. It's an epiphany. It's the best thing.
Why was Alex going off his nut this week?
Oh, because his candidate won, and he thought they were going to assassinate him, and he was prepared for the Democrats to do all kinds of dirty skullduggeries and tricks around it, and he just wanted to keep his audience basically on the edge.
I go hot and cold with Alex Jones.
Yeah, I do.
There are times, and I'm sure you do too, there are times when a lot of the things he comes out with are very pertinent, and there are sometimes the things he comes out with, you just look at him presenting what he's talking about, and you think to yourself, Alex, you really need to go to bed.
Yeah,
You've been up for 3 days, just devouring any bit of scuttlebutt, and you've obviously convinced yourself that this is 100% going to happen, and he gets so worked up about things and presents it, and when he does that, he comes off a bit NQR.
A bit NQR.
But then again, when I stumbled across Alex Jones, and I think that would have been about 5 years now, 5 years ago, he was resonating a lot of truth with what he was saying
absolutely.
at the time.
I think his downfall, personally, was when he chose sides.
Yes, because he was impartial at the start.
He couldn't stand Bush.
No.
Didn't like Obama at all. But when he chose a side in this election, it all, in my opinion, went pear-shaped. And his side won. But the fact of the matter is, now all those things that he was talking about that were pertinent 5 years ago and even 10 years ago are still in place, in spite of the fact that the person he wanted to get into office did. There's still a lot going on as far as the elitists are concerned. There is still the black economy. There is still the black or under that hidden government is still there. That is still in place.
It'd be interesting to see how Alex changes his stance over the next couple of years to see if Trump ends up doing things that don't gel with his belief system?
Well, what I'm doing now is I have a few snippets that he's talked about, and I'm saving them. Because, quite frankly, I think it gets to the point now where, okay, Trump's in, give him a chance, let's see what happens. If he self-implodes, people will just say, I told you so, and they'll have to clean up the mess and move on. What bothers me about the media in the U.S. is, especially like Fox News and things like that, they are belittling and berating every single thing Obama did. Everything is his fault, which is the exact same thing they did to Bush beforehand and the exact same thing they did to Clinton when Clinton left office. You can't keep doing that. It's a continuous thing.
Not just that, you can't compare an apple with an orange with a banana.
Yeah, but this is what they do, and that's why I can't stand listening to some of those guys, because when you hear, you just go, oh, come on. You know, as far as they're concerned, Obama was the devil incarnate now, and all of a sudden...
He looks like the golden child.
Yeah, exactly. So it all depends on the which side of the aisle you're on, and it really gets to the point of the annoying and the ridiculous. But this will affect the entire globe, so we'll see exactly how it goes. As I said, honeymoon period of about 3 months. After that, no holes barred. Anything that goes wrong, they now own it. And as far as the United States is concerned, this is that society's last chance.
Put your seatbelt on, kids.
That's it.
Beyond 3D.
Back with you guys for this week's edition of Beyond 3D. Matt and Clint still in the house. We haven't started the heavy drinking yet, even though Donald Trump has gotten into office. But
hey, can I give a really quick shout out?
Oh, absolutely.
If you are looking for a really, really cool podcast, jump on the Soul to Soul.
Ooh, yes.
Steve and Patricia run an awesome show.
Absolutely. Thoroughly and totally and utterly agree with that. Without a doubt. Especially as a meditator. You gotta listen.
Well, a lot of their stuff is all about the inner.
Most everything is about the inner.
Yeah, I know, but we concentrate, you and I concentrate on the outer.
Yeah, but we're concentrating on the outer to try to get people to the inner.
To the inner.
Absolutely.
We'll guide them in, and we'll let Steve and Patricia bring them home.
And get them to where they need to be.
Bring them home.
Absolutely. Anyway, this week, Clint, guess what appeared in China again?
The floating ghost city?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes, it did. And it's really interesting because I forget the name of the city it was over. It doesn't really matter. Where this thing appeared, it was videoed by quite a few people. Now, the city it was in was a more rural kind of a city. It wasn't a big Shanghai, Beijing type of a city. It was a smaller city, and the highest structure in that city was about 13 stories, and it was a tower. The clouds that appeared and the city that appeared in these clouds looked nothing like any of the structures in the city below. It was totally different. Windows, you could see it all. It was just like this cloud had a mirage over it, for lack of a better term, if we're going to use the scientific term for it. And this mirage was captured by quite a few people, and it was mesmerizing to look at.
I've seen it a couple of times on the internet. I don't understand why, when the mass population spot it, why a chopper isn't sent up there to have a good look at it.
I don't know. You would think they would do something along those lines, and they can maybe prove something, but some people believe it is from a different dimension, and the dimension's bleeding through.
So we're talking, well, that means we're going back to things like CERN again.
Yeah, one of your favorite
No,
subjects.
it's not my favorite. It's a nefarious experiment that nobody knows exactly what it's doing anymore.
Well, there have been a lot of... I know for a fact this week I read something about one of the scientists stating that is the cause for all of the problems that are going on right now, including Trump. I've
never seen the world in the state that it's in. In my 40 plus years.
Yeah, interesting. I can agree with that. It's been really, really odd what's going on, but this city has appeared again. It's about the fourth time in the last couple of years, and it's in different parts of in and around China or in Asia. So that I think was very interesting this week. So guys, I will put up a link to that on our Facebook page, and you can take a look at it and see what you think. And when you look at it, look at the clouds and then look at the city below, and you will see they are in stark contrast to each other and don't look anything like each other, so you can't say it's a mirror image.
It's just like, from what I've seen in the past, it's like if you saw a city from the distance and it was all like one faded top grey colour.
Yep.
And just sitting on top of clouds. It shouldn't be there.
No, it shouldn't, but it is. And I think people are going to have to come to grips with the fact that there's a lot more going on between heaven and earth than they could possibly imagine. Another thing that was going on this week was scientists have discovered different structures on Venus. And they did it using not the normal telescope kind of situation. They did it using radioscopes, and they did it using heat sensors and those kind of things.
Just say that again. Just say that statement one more time.
They found structures on Venus?
On Venus.
On Venus.
So let's go through the list.
Yeah.
The Moon.
Yep.
Venus.
Right.
The other week it was Pluto.
True, yes.
Yes. So how many more structures are hanging around these planets in our immediate universe?
Well, I'm starting to come around to a conclusion that you will more than likely find that every single planet at one time or another had some form or structure on it that was, let's say, not natural in its formation.
It kind of puts it back into the perspective that realistically our civilization on this rock is we are the new kids on the block.
Basically. And lived in other places. Changing houses.
We got the right stuff.
Yeah, changing houses.
That was a really bad joke I just made.
Yeah. Speaking of which, the last man to walk on the moon.
Yes.
Gene Cernan passed away.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, so taking his secrets to the grave with him. And I think he was very interesting.
There are no secrets anymore.
Yeah, but there were things he was told not to say, or lest you lose your pension, and I think that was really a shame, because he was an interesting man. He was a very spiritual being as well, and he spent his last years going around with the kid, trying to teach the kids what was going on out there and getting them to really strive for more than just the mundane things down here.
What did he pass away from?
Very good question. I don't know.
You'd think that if he knew he was going to pass away, so if he had some kind of terminal illness, that days beforehand, you just let it out. You let the cats out of the bag.
You would think, but that did not happen. And I'm wondering why. The other thing...
More than likely, they might have leveraged what he knew against him for his family. I mean, you wouldn't want to let the stuff out of the bag and then know that you're going to pass over. Your energy was going to go to the next realm, and what you were leaving behind was carnage for your family to have to deal with.
Well, whatever these guys know, one thing is for certain. They are not letting a lot of information out. If they're doing it in a cryptic way. And once again, the other thing that happened, being that I was talking about Gene Cernan in space, there was another video that came out this past week showing one of the astronauts on the International Space Station panning a camera away from a UFO.
Yes, I saw that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. One of those boomerangy type looking things that were going all around.
And he went, nothing to see here.
So it's been interesting time up in space, and I'm going to put up a Leonard Wolfson video on the Facebook page as well, because he has an absolutely brilliant video. I believe it was done with a GoPro through the telescope on the moon, and you can really make out ancient cities and bases.
And there's something in one of those giant craters too.
Yep. Have to put that up. So guys, you can look at that as well. So there's been a few interesting goodies going on out and around the solar system, at least in our immediate neighborhood, but there's also been some interesting information that has been released in Smithsonian territory.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
The keepers of all secrets.
The keepers of all secrets, yes indeed. But the U.S. Supreme Court forced the Smithsonian to release some classified information from approximately around 1900. I'm
sure everybody has seen the ending of Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Mm-hmm.
When the Ark of the Covenant gets boxed away in a giant warehouse.
Oh, definitely.
Of 100,000 other boxes.
Mm-hmm.
That is the Smithsonian.
Exactly.
And the things they have stored away there would change history.
Yes, it would.
But, and that's why they have it.
But latest would be near and dear to your heart in the cryptozoology field, and that would be the fact that they, through classified papers, found that they admitted that they had destroyed thousands upon thousands of skeletons.
Giant skeletons
from back then.
So we're talking about, last year we did a story on the giants of Kandahar.
Mm-hmm.
Allegedly that's where that cryptozoological humanoid got boxed up and went off to, was the Smithsonian for them to chop it up. extract vital DNA and etc. etc.
Yeah, well, what they did, they found one of the Smithsonian's lovely workers decided to keep a souvenir, and he kept a femur, a thigh bone.
Wow.
And the thigh bone, mathematically speaking, is about 25% of the body's height.
Okay, so from that they're able to ascertain the actual height of the being that they had in their possession.
And that thigh bone, that femur bone, was 1.3 meters.
Oh, jeez.
And therefore,
huge.
that's a total body height of about 5.2 meters or 17 feet tall.
And we don't even know if that's fully grown.
That's the whole thing. You really don't know. You might be able to tell from aging. You can, get the carbon dating, look in the bone structure to see how old it is, but they didn't go into that, but they just went into the length of the sucker.
I think you're talking about trees, when you cut a tree in half and count the rings.
Yeah, maybe. But I thought it was very interesting that some of this stuff is coming out, but it's only coming out in certain circles. And that's what we do on Beyond 3D, try to get you to look into those other circles and get some more information.
Because 9 times out of 10, you go looking at information A, and that'll lead you down the rest of the alphabet.
Mm-hmm. And in this case, there you go. So, the old David and Goliath story is out there. Kandahar province is out there. And the burial mounds throughout the Ohio Valley and everything in the United States. The fact that the American Indians discussed that they were at war with the red-headed giants. The Smithsonian Institution has the data and has the evidence to prove that there is another species, intelligent species of human on this planet, and they were here no more than 150 years ago, but somehow or another they've disappeared.
Or gone underground.
Which is a distinct possibility.
Which is a lot of cases, a lot of documentation says that that's where they originate from.
So it's fascinating information was coming out this week, so that's another little tidbit for you guys out there.
Mount Shasta as well is alleged to reportedly have lots of different things that live underground there.
There's a city that's under Telos?
Yes.
Yeah, that city is allegedly there as well, and another species of humanoids live there, but they are not in contact with we bottom dwellers that just walk the crust of the earth.
Oh, look who's running the show now. You say bottom dwellers.
Oh, look, it's funny in a sense.
He's going to do wonderful things, folks.
Yes, of course. Of course he will. It would be interesting. It would be extremely interesting when he gets the security briefing from Dr. Stephen Greer.
Oil and water?
Yeah.
Wow.
I would love to be
fly on the wall in that meeting.
Absolutely. And he starts hearing all of this kind of stuff.
You know what he'd be doing? Working out how he can make $1 out of it.
Well, there are a few ways. They're trying it right now.
Do you remember the cartoonist? Actually, I'm going to bring this up. We'll come back from a break.
Fair enough.
Beyond 3D.
Welcome back this week, everyone, to another edition of Beyond 3D on a Saturday night, coming to you live from the RPP studios on the Mornington Peninsula in Melbourne, Australia.
Indeed.
Matt, I was just mentioning Gary Larson.
Yes. Far
now, you had a little smile crept over your face then when you said his name.
Oh, I gotta remember the Far Side.
I remember a cartoon he did many years ago, which was a UFO. I'll see if I can find it. I'll put it on the Facebook page. It was a UFO, and it was an alien that came out of the UFO.
Right.
Think of a pair of legs and just like a round body, and its neck and head was an arm with a hand, and the president was leaning in to shake hands, but it was his human hand was about to grip the alien's face, which was a hand, and it looked like he was going to choke it and kill it in saying a greeting. I can just see Trump doing something like that.
Look, it's a lot. It's fun to make fun right now, but quite frankly, this is the thing. You now have a new person in there that ran a campaign, in my opinion, was absolutely abominable, but all of a sudden, he is going to start getting briefings from the intelligence agencies, whom, by the way, he doesn't trust, about certain information. And you wonder how those briefings will be received. Now, we are very interested in what goes on in UFOs, UAPs, USOs, all of these types of craft and different orders of beings. So how are these guys going to handle knowing that a lot of this information has been hidden from the general public for a very long time? What will we find? Will we finally get some information that is pertinent, that can validate what we've been trying to get out to the public?
Over the last couple of years, more and more people have, in the media eye and spotlight, have been coming out with lots more information. It's definitely ramping up.
Right.
Whether or not it'll happen on Trump's watch, I hope it does.
So do I, actually.
I hope it does from the point of view that if it's handled wrong, at least the world will blame him. They will.
Oh, well. Yeah, let him and Putin stand down there and deal with it all as they come off their ships.
Don't discredit or write Putin off. I think he is an incredibly clever, calculating and smart man.
He knows exactly what's going on.
He's got Donald in his pocket, and Donald doesn't realize it, I don't think.
Putin and the Russians, in my opinion, know everything that's going on out there. They have that information. Most of the Russian population is, in my opinion, from what I have seen, quite open to the fact that there are other beings sharing this planet from the seas and from above and without, all throughout the solar system, and I think they have a more healthy attitude towards it.
When the technocracy is relying on fossil fuels to create an economy to keep the world turning, and other civilizations can offer 0-point energy.
Yeah, and speaking of that, what came up in the...
Where are we going with this?
No, what came up in the papers this week as well was the fact that China has allegedly a working version of NASA's Impossible engine.
The EmDrive?
The EmDrive.
Yes.
Yeah. So they are stating that they have a working prototype.
Okay, just pump your brakes for a tick. When you turn around and say that China have come out and stated that they have a working EmDrive based on or similar to what NASA's developing, all I think of straight away are those reports of North Korea has landed on the sun.
Hey, look. Look, the whole EmDrive and everything that's going on with it is the fact that even NASA says they have a working theory, but they don't know how the thrust is generated.
That's like saying I have a working theory on time travel, but I don't have a...
Well,
I know how I've told you before my philosophy on time travel.
But the fact of the matter is, this is what they are stating. Now it comes down to the point, do they have it? If they do, bring it out into the public domain and let's see how it works.
No.
They won't do it?
No.
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 Like and alas. What can you do then? That's a shame. I'd love to be able to see something like that.
Not in our lifetime.
Well, why not?
We're still plugging things into the wall and burning coal to make it work, Matt.
No. We have the technology beyond that, and we all know that. The fact of the matter is they won't release it. In other words, they're keeping it for themselves. It's being hoarded. I'm firmly convinced that all of those things, we don't need the fossil fuels. We don't have to worry about coal. We shouldn't have to worry about oil.
I'll tell you what I saw the other day, which was awesome.
Yeah.
A tropical oasis that's been planted in the desert in Egypt.
Yeah.
And the reason and the way they've been able to get this forest to grow is to pump out the city's recycled water and wastewater out into the desert. Obviously not suitable for human drinking, but this desert has just gone bananas in the way it's sprung up with its vegetation. Now, I've seen it so many times, devices and machines, man-made, beautifully created, that can pull water out of the atmosphere.
Yeah.
Now, when we can do those kind of things to terraform our own planet and revitalize and rejuvenate it, don't tell me that there's technology. I mean, we all know that the 0-point energy exists. Dr. Stephen Greer has proven it. He has the papers on it. He only hasn't built a 0-point energy device because it needs to be funded. It takes a lot of money to make something like that.
Yeah. Well, the fact of the matter is, you said it early, and it's true, it's the fossil fuels. The fact that you have a Secretary of State that was the head of Exxon, or once he gets through the process, speaks volumes to me. They still want to rely on that. And I said this before and I'll say it again. Guys, when you have a government, whether it be here in Australia or in the United States or in Europe, and the only thing they want you to think about is the fact that they want you to get a good job, they do not have your best interest at heart.
No, they want you to get a good job so you can make them more money and keep the economy turning, keep the wheels turning.
Keep the wheels turning. Keep the status quo. We will never evolve as long as that situation and that system is in place. It's got to stop.
It reminds me of that Smashing Pumpkins song. Despite all my rage, I'm still just a rat in a cage.
There you go. Well, at least they know they're in the cage. Well, a lot of people don't.
A lot of people don't know that this is a prison planet.
I'll tell you what, Alex Jones knows, but he has a website called Prison Planet, from what I remember. But
and he started that off with good intentions too.
Look, I think everything is good intentions, but after a while, I think what tends to happen to anybody that does that kind of work is the energy of it feeds off of you, and it becomes your entire life, and it bogs you down. You have to be able to step back from it. And he did a good job, and we said this earlier in the show, he did a really good job for a number of years. In my opinion, he went off the rails when he made a choice. You can't do that. You are supposed to be, if you are supposed to be the new news media, what you have to be able to do is sit back, listen to everybody, have them present their information, and you just present it. You can interpret, you can research, you can line yourself a little bit to this way or a little bit to that way, but when you go all in, you will not look at the other side in any way without having this total disdain for them. You've made the choice, and therefore you've gone all the way to the left, or you've gone all the way to the right, and you can't get away from that. You need to be in the center so you can see what's going on in the periphery. Once you go either way too far, done.
I make Trump jokes.
Yeah.
I play the Imperial March when we talk about him. That's because the general consensus around the world is nothing but fear when it comes to him. So it's not so much me personally making a decision that I'm going to go with the left or the right or support either one. I'm going with the general consensus of the world.
Yeah. And right now, that's how the world feels. They have no idea what's going to happen, but we will find out. But for us, I think, we want to expand as well. So I'm putting my capitalist hat on now, and I say I'm hoping and looking for him to cut taxes. I want him to be a friend of business. We're not looking for a job. We're looking to create jobs ourselves, and we're looking to help other people with it. So we want to expand our show and expand our market. These are the things we're looking for. Any person in a government that can come along and help us to do that, I'm all for it, because that is very important to us. This is what matters. We will see. There are problems here in Australia. We don't even have to worry about the problems in the States. This government here is by no stretch of the imagination a prize.
Don't even start.
Yeah, I know. It's ridiculous. But, hey, you got to play the game, and that's what they will do.
Australia's still playing 1960s politics.
Please, they're still living in the 1960s in some instances, but the fact of the matter is, hey, well, look. This is the thing. In one instance, I've said this before as well, this is one of the most innovative countries you could ever be in. There are a lot of technologies down here that are absolutely amazing. But the fact of the matter is they are relying on something that doesn't allow you to go forward. And what they're relying on, just like in the United States of America, are fossil fuels and digging up the minerals that are under the soil. And what you're doing is giving up a lot by doing that. You get some money in the short term, but in the long term, you are just basically strangling yourself. It's a shame.
Beyond 3D.
Welcome back this week, everyone, to another edition of Beyond 3D. Matt.
Yes.
12 million pages of declassified CIA files are now available online for everyone to view.
Yes, and if you type in the wrong thing, they will visit you.
Yeah, tell me all about that. You and I get creepy stuff that happens to us.
That's really, really weird. Anyway, I had...
I was just about to say, you and I get creepy stuff that happens to us every now and again.
Yeah, and this was kind of sort of creepy. I was on that website this week, and I decided to part of the papers that were out, they were talking about the fact that they had dealt in psychic experimentation. And so I went, oh, psychic experimentation, astral traveling. They wanted to come up and see if they could do, what is that movie, The Men That Stared at Goats?
Yes, that's a good film.
Yeah, they wanted to do things along those lines to see if they could come up with a psychic soldier, a spy that would be able to not even have to leave the room. They could just project their energy and land in, for argument's sake, the Soviet Union in 1984 and take a look at what was going on in a meeting.
Ingo Swann style.
Yeah. So I said, let me get on this website, and I'm looking through some information, and I decided to type in something that I did when I was astral traveling. And I'm waiting, typed it in, hit the search button, and I'm waiting and 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 waiting. And all of a sudden, the site's down. It just stopped working, and the site was down. I went, okay. Turn the computer off. Wake up this morning, was talking to my wife for a bit in the morning, and
I'm sorry.
Before coming in here, and I said, I looked at the phone, and I put it down, then all of a sudden it rang, and it had unknown written there. And I went, hello, and I hear this, and I went,
static.
Click. Yeah. And then it rings again within 5 seconds, unknown. And I went,
and they've come on and they've gone, I can't do it, hang on. They come on the line, they go, is this Matthew Adams? Hello, Matthew Adams. You've contacted the CIA website. Deceased message right now.
Yes, basically. And then it rang for the third time, and I answered it, and I said, don't call again. And I hung it up. And it stopped. Didn't call again.
I would have just taken the phone to the toilet and just repeatedly flushed, just to annoy them. Because if you tell them that you're upset, or you let them know you're upset, they'll just keep going.
Yeah, so I just said, don't call again, and it stopped. It's still, before we came to the studio tonight, I plugged it in again and put up the information again, and I left it just spinning.
Yep.
So it's a lot of information to go through, but we'll see if I get a hit.
I love it every now and again. I'll call my kids and I'll hear like a click on the line, and I'll just hang up, hang up and call them back.
Too much. But guys, a bucket load of details, 12 million some documents. Take a look for UFOs, and take a look for UAPs, and take a look for red-headed giants and anything else you can see. There's includes a lot of information.
Information on UFO sightings, Nazi war crimes, Project Stargates. Ooh. Yeah, I knew that would get your ears prick up. So when they're talking, and UFO, detailed descriptions of UFOs and their materials.
Oh, nice.
So when the CIA's got this on their public website, you know, I'm looking on, you go through the news of the world, nothing on the news of the world about any of this stuff, except, you'd think that some journalist somewhere would go through and spend a couple of weeks trawling through the website, pulling stuff out. Any of it would make front page of news.
Yeah, but in a sense, it's the CIA, so they're liars. They're into covert operations and things like that. You have to take it with a grain of salt, but at the same time, this was released right around a presidential inauguration as well, so people are concentrating on that aspect of things. It's just, you do need to take the time and do the research, so hopefully there'll be some reporters out there that will just sit down and troll through it for a few days and see what they can come up with, and then they can start doing some stories on some really interesting things, as long as they're not redacted.
Well, a lot of it's not redacted, and playing devil's advocate here, I'm thinking along the lines of maybe this is the start of a disclosure, a government disclosure.
Well,
drip feed.
it's just me, I still can't see what is so wrong about letting people know that 10 million years ago there was a civilization on Mars that destroyed itself. What's the big deal?
Because it smashes the God theory. It smashes religion, smashes God Jehovah, theory. It smashes Allah, it smashes Christianity, it smashes Buddhism.
It doesn't smash Buddhism per se.
No, because we're talking about creation.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about along the lines of people's belief systems. And when people's belief systems are smashed, nobody's going to get up and go to work. Economies are going to stop. Wars are going to happen.
Nah, I don't think so. I think
Yes,
people,
you do.
I think people will get up and go to work. I think people will be able to say...
Oh,
you
no,
know,
man. I'm talking about, like, let's say, for example, okay, like I started watching Arrival last Friday night. Mm-hmm. Now, that's a movie with Amy Adams about intergalactic, interdimensional civilization that comes to Earth, and they park their ships everywhere, Independence style.
Yep.
And she is a linguist, so she's recruited to come and try and make some kind of contact with them. Long story short, I fell asleep in the first third. It wasn't because the movie was boring. I literally could not keep my eyes open. Busy day at work. But in that film, it also depicts the fact that just society just went into absolute panic.
It's a movie. But in the movie, did society go into absolute panic because they didn't know something?
Well, that's what it all comes down to. It's a lack of information, it's a lack of education, and it's a lack of awareness.
So therefore, if you have the information, the education, and the awareness, why would everybody fall apart?
Okay, so again, if you're looking at, let's say Aunt Betty, who's in her 70s.
Right.
Okay, she's spent her whole life being brought up on Christian dogma.
Yep.
Her whole world revolves around those philosophies and those beliefs.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, and all of a sudden, a giant ship is parked over the top of Melbourne. Okay, that for some people they could mold that into their belief system from a spiritual point of view. Some people wouldn't be able to comprehend what they were even looking at.
Yeah, true.
And then some people would just do what that idiot did in Melbourne yesterday.
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
Driving around his car, screaming out it's the end of the world and killing people and injuring many others. You know, there is a minority that would behave exactly like that.
So once again, because 2 or 3 aren't ready, 200 or 300 that are ready have to basically
Well, it's fear.
suffer.
It's a fear-based belief system.
It's a shame.
And that comes also down to Hollywood programming. If you look along the lines of, you know, the type of films, alien-type films that have come, most of them are invasion-style films.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of global programming. When realistically, there's been absolutely zero proof that that is what an intention would be from a advanced civilization.
Well, when you think of all the things that the guys see on the International Space Station flying around there that they don't want, that they keep panning the cameras away from, none of them have in any way, shape, or form attacked the space station. They haven't attacked, to our knowledge, this place, this planet. They're out there doing what they're doing. It would be similar to we're walking down the street and there is an ant colony over there. Now, some people might decide to run over and mess it up, but most people will just walk over it, walk by it, and not even think about it because they have their other things to do, which in my opinion is what all these ships and all these things flying out there in space are basically doing.
Or overhead, and we can't see them because they're in the infrared spectrum.
Yep. So we're insignificant to them. We have egos, self-importance, but in the grand scheme of things, to a being that has lived and can live 5,000 years, 10,000 years, 100,000 years, a being that lives 100 years is meaningless to them. It's something they may have been through in the past and they don't have to worry about it anymore. I believe what you said about the religious aspect of it is very true. Religion is big business. Just look at the Catholic Church. The fact of the matter is, if they can come and they can prove to you that, look, yes, there is a divine creator that created everything, but it is not as you believe in this specific book, oh well, many books have been disproven.
I read an awesome interview the other day about an abductee, and he claimed that he asked his abductors,
right?
It wasn't so much the meaning of life, but who created them and where is everything going and where's it all come from. And their response to him was the one. So again, that shoehorns nicely into many different religious aspects of the one, but it becomes egotistical to give the one a human identity. I understand that that's from a concept of trying to understand and quantify the experience
I had written something down about that. It was funny. And I'm trying to read it here, but these glasses no longer work. I need new ones. Yeah, that was basically
If they don't work, why do you wear them?
They work in certain instances.
How do the glasses know when to work?
They don't work when I'm reading anymore. I need to extend my own... No, actually, they're not that bad. It basically comes down to when you said the one. That's the whole thing. So the one...
And I'm not talking about Keanu Reeves in The Matrix.
No. And you're not talking about Babylon 5 either. Because the one was in Babylon 5. What you're talking about is everything and nothing. And
zero.
Yeah, that 0 point. And the thing is, if you consider that 0 point to be nothing, the nothingness, from nothing comes everything. So therefore, God is everything and nothing. But the nothing is the most important bit. And that's why they say, like, from the darkness, the light comes through. There's the void, and then there is a point of light, and that point of light can irradiate out to a point where everybody can basically witness. And then vibration comes in, and we start the whole creation thing again. But I digress. The fact of the matter is with the one, the fact of the matter is with religion when it comes to Christianity or Islam or any of those man-made religions, you have to go beyond them. I still will say it. Krishna said it in the Bagavigida, abandon religion, follow me. Don't get caught up in the ceremony.
I like that. That's nice. We've got to take a break.
True.
Beyond 333
Saturday evenings in and around the peninsula and going live out over the internet. Welcome back to this week's edition of Beyond 3D. Matt and Clint still sitting here, still reveling in the joy that is Trump. And
good evening, Michelle Abrams, who listens regularly up in Queensland.
Queensland, indeed. How's it going, Michelle? We know you're out there. Come on, say something.
Repeat for me that statement from Krishna again.
He said this to Arjuna as they're about to fight the Battle of Kurukshetra, and he had the simple statement, abandon religion, follow me.
But now, I'm not faux pas as you are with Indian scriptures.
Mm-hmm.
Is Krishna not an embodiment of religion?
Krishna is an incarnation of Vishnu, and religion was a tool that was used, but Krishna actually came to the earth plane to do one thing and one thing only, usher in the age of Kali Yuga.
Okay, so when you say abandon religion, follow me, I just wanted to clarify that because some people might not understand what that actually means.
Dogma, religious dogma, the ceremony of all things. Don't get caught up in the ceremony. Religion is a ceremony. It does not represent what God, the Godhead, truly is.
So if I was to extrapolate that from a Catholic point of view,
yes,
you could say abandon the pomp and ceremony of everything that surrounds the Catholic religion and follow the meaning of love.
What was Christ for?
Love.
That's what you follow. You don't worry about this. Oh, amen over here, this over there. No. You don't follow the ceremony. The ceremony, you get caught up in the ceremony, and that's where the ego kicks in.
I watched Ridley Scott's Exodus, Gods and Kings the other day.
Okay.
Now, awesome film.
Yeah.
Awesome film. But there's no documented proof that the Exodus actually occurred, is there?
Exodus, Egypt, Moses, blah, 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 blah.
Yes. I don't think there is.
Stan Dale was on the show, and he believes there was.
Okay. Now, I'll have to go through that.
He is of the mind that the Exodus actually happened. He's also of the mind that Jesus Christ was not crucified, from what I remember.
Now, we talked about, the other month, we talked about that, and you brought up the information that Jesus ended up in Japan.
Yeah.
So that kind of gels with what he was talking about.
Yeah, it's where he ended up, I don't think is important. The fact of the matter is there's many different paths and truths out there that state that Jesus did not die on a cross. That was somebody else. Exodus, Moses, Egypt, possible.
I just wanted to bring that up because we were talking about Krishna.
Yeah, well, Krishna came down to rid the earth of the Kshatriya, or the warrior caste, of which he was a part of, and the last thing that had to be done in order for the work to be completed was he had to also die.
Now, can we just stop for 1 sec and take away from the identity of Krishna and say it's quite also possible, if you take away the identity of Krishna as a human, it's quite possible that he could have been something else.
Maybe.
When you're talking about nuclear radiation that's found all over India, at the sites where you're talking about, what were the weapons of mass destruction from the scriptures?
The different astras, the Brahmastras and the different things like that they would use that were weapons that they would throw at each other during the war. But when they describe them in the scriptures, what they're literally describing is what we would today consider ICBMs, intercontinental ballistic missiles, and things like that. They had total control over these kind of things. And they were wiping out, I think I described it the last time as, if you look at the Lord of the Rings movie when Sauron first comes up and the guys are there and he just waves his hand and a whole phalanx of soldiers get wiped along those kind of lines, And there was also a giant, what is the name? Gatakocha, one of the Pandava brothers, was actually a giant.
Okay.
So even the theory of the giants existed back then.
So you could take pretty much any kind of religion, if you really wanted to delve into it, you could pretty much link everything back to being the same.
Yep, all of them. They basically you can go back to the Upanishads and you'll find just about everything that's in the Bible in there.
Yep.
Absolutely. That's why I love that the Hindus, the scriptures are really, really they're old, they're ancient, they're fascinating to talk about, and the stories are amazing. And you find that the so-called gods were not as, let's say, pious as we pretend they are. They were down and dirty with the best of them.
Over time, everything gets a bit of sprinkle of sugar put on it.
Yeah, come on. Some of these guys, I mean, look, this guy came down to wipe out people. Period.
And there's no guarantee he was a person himself.
Well, it was an incarnation, and he had to appear amongst them as one of them in order to get his job done. So therefore, yes, when you look at the pictures of Krishna, he always appears with blue skin. But there's a hidden meaning behind that. Some people would consider, he could be one of these aliens from another planet. That is one of the theories, which could also be true. But the fact of the matter is the blue skin on a spiritual level represents a liberated being.
Okay, explain to me when scientists with Geiger counters can find insane radioactive hotspots
they do.
All over India.
Yep.
And you have these scriptures of these massive wars that have occurred. When the written scripture backs up the physical evidence, you can't say that it didn't exist or that it didn't happen.
No, I believe it did happen. I believe it was real. I believe these things actually went on, and they have the main battle scene from the Mahabharata. They know exactly where that area is. The main battle scenes from the Ramayana, they know exactly where those areas are. They know this, and the scientists have gone there, and as you've said, they've used Geiger counters, and they can see that the radiation was there. You can probably date it. They've gone underneath the northwestern areas of India into the oceans, and they have found temples with statues built to this. And if you think about it, normally, yes, there is such a thing as abstract art, but a lot of the statues you see, any of a person that was born in the 1900s, if there's a statue of them, it's pretty lifelike. They basically this is the way the person looked. They are drawing them in a specific scene or sculpting them in a specific scene. So when you look at the hieroglyphs, that's how the people looked in the time in Egypt. When you look at a picture or a statue of Krishna or a statue of Vishnu or a statue of Shiva or Rama, any of that, what you're seeing is a depiction of them from that time. It's what they looked like, and they were human in appearance. But they also were they had control and their consciousness could leave their body at will. I personally believe that the Battle of Kurukshetra happened. I believe the story of the Mahabharata is the truth that was told at that time, and I believe it was told by Sanjaya, who was looking and telling this story of the time when we went from one yuga to the next. They told why it happened, how it happened, this is what went on, and hey, that's the way it is. We tend to belittle and berate it, or we tend to actually make it seem like myth. because a lot of times our science can't believe that there could have been a weapon created 10,000 years ago that had nuclear capabilities. They don't want to believe it.
Well, that really smashes another belief system. Like, how could you have science that advanced at a time when the world wasn't that advanced? According to history books.
According to history books,
which aren't always as factual as what we'd like them to be.
Okay, now, Angkor Wat?
Yes.
Was it Laos?
Yes.
They've done the topography of that area.
X-rays.
What have they found?
X-rays. They've X-rayed the topography and found even more.
Absolutely. So the Khmer dynasty, that whole area there, it's a heck of a lot bigger and a heck of a lot. There's a vastness there that they are now just discovering. So they look at the surface, and then you dig a little deeper, and more comes out. And this is what's going on now. And so, in a sense, science can be good if the scientists can admit, hey, wait a minute, we missed something here. Let's really take a look at this. Step back, use our new technologies that are out there, and ooh, how interesting. It's much bigger than we thought.
And that's where the information stops.
Yeah. Depends on what the information is, what they found. If it shatters paradigms, they have to be careful before they can release it. They have to make sure that it doesn't drive people, as you said before, over the edge to the point where they do crazy things like happened in Melbourne. So, hey, we will see. More and more is being discovered. We spoke about Antarctica for a few weeks. We've spoken about a lot of things that are starting to come up and resurface down there. There are things coming up now. You're talking about Laos and Angkor Wat. More information resurfacing. They have, and Eric von Daniken talked about the fact that there was a second Nile River and that they found an ocean underneath the pyramids and things like this. So, well, come on.
Beyond 3D's very first guest, Eric von Daniken.
Yeah, absolutely. So these are the things that are going on, and he just had his 50th anniversary of Chariots of the Gods. So congratulations to him for that as well. But these are the things that people are now finding out about. The beauty of the internet, the beauty of social media is that the mainstream media and sometimes governments cannot control the narrative anymore.
No. But then again, what also is a problem with that is clickbait.
Absolutely.
And I highly, highly recommend anybody, if you are looking for some kind of information along the lines of what it is that we talk about here on Beyond 3D, and you come across a clickbait page, and the information is maybe, I don't know, usually with clickbait, it's probably about 5 to 10 lines of information, and then you've got nowhere else to go. Just get rid of it. Just delete it. Just don't put any investment into what you're reading whatsoever, because if it cannot support what it is it's saying, it's just rubbish.
Fair enough. The way it has to be. So yes, we going into 2017 now, basically the first month is just about done. It's going to start happening where more and more information of our ancient past is going to come out. More and more of the information that is out there that used to be looked upon as rubbish is being verified and is now being accepted as fact. And new information will keep coming out, and we will find that this planet has had, and Clinton and I have said it before, we've been here millions of years, not 400,000 years like the Aboriginals in Australia, millions, a lot of time, and we will find that we've been created and destroyed, and we've split the atom and destroyed this place, and it's been built up again, the way it is.
Beyond 3.
Welcome back this week on the last leg tonight, Matt, of Beyond 3D.
Ah, yes.
Now, you were just talking about the fact that we've been here millions of years.
I think so.
There's lots and lots of prehistoric art, and I'm not talking about cave paintings, I'm talking about pottery and vases and things like that, that depicts man with dinosaurs. Now, science will tell you that the two never existed at the same time. Look at you pondering.
Yeah, I think science is a little bit off when it comes to that. Now, granted, let me ask you this question, because you're into your cryptozoology, and we talked about this in one of the first bits of the show. How is it possible that the Smithsonian and science will allow guys to go out there and find dinosaur bones, but they won't allow people to go out and find the fact that there were 17 to sometimes 25-foot tall human beings?
You know the answer to that.
Yes, I do, but the fact of the matter is I'm just asking it as a rhetorical kind of question maybe, but this is the thing. These both existed. And now, we're, I don't know, anywhere between 5 and 6 feet tall, most of us. If you were 3 times the height, of that normally, if not 4 times that height. Dinosaurs weren't that big.
No, you could just get a woolly mammoth and a headlock. Just bring it down to the ground.
And this is the thing. So that's, when you think of it that way, all right, so I'm 20 feet tall. That's not that big of a deal. You could put it on a chain and walk it like a dog.
I just get images of the Flintstones.
There you go.
Whacking a saddle on a brontosaurus and just
Absolutely.
going for a trot.
There you go. So these are the things. And, hey, that's one of the problems that they have to deal with. So they will allow you to find a dinosaur bone, but when you find a femur, all of a sudden there's a problem if it's too large. Covering things up. History's always been covered up that way by the people that want to remain in control.
I tell you what is a really good gateway for finding out information. Nexus magazine.
Yep. Now, Duncan just changed his alternative news name. I got to figure it out.
Good evening, Duncan Rhodes.
Indeed.
I know he does listen up in Queensland. We have a lot of listeners up in Queensland.
Yeah, that's the way. I know why.
No, I was
All the heat up there allows them to see UFOs better.
I was looking at Nexus's website,
Yeah.
and there's an awesome story about a recent quantum computing simulation points to the existence of a bizarre quantum code that exists beneath the stock market.
Oh, here we go.
No, I paused when I let that information out because I just wanted to see your face, because you have worked on the New York Stock Exchange.
Yeah, I was on the Amex Stock Exchange. I was on 3 floors of the Stock Exchange. 3 floors. One in Chicago, one in New York, and one in San Francisco for about 20 years all up.
I say that to you, having spent some time there yourself. What are your thoughts on that?
A code. Yeah, but the code I'm thinking of is totally different, because what you could do when you were down there, it was very interesting actually. We used to have what they call the ticker tape that would run across, and you'd see it in green running across on the floors, and you can see what was going on, and there was books on how to read that tape. And what it would do, what you were doing when you were down there was you were training yourself. You were training yourself to be able to anticipate and to react to information. Normally people think of information as news. In this case, you were also honing your senses so you could react to vibrational information. So you used all of your senses. There were visual cues that you could see. In other words, a person in a crazy colored coat running to a pit on the floor to do some trades. You also used your ears, and you could hear the level of noise rise and fall as the markets were rising and falling. You could also hear the silence before that, because all of a sudden you could feel the energy that something was about to happen, and boom.
Like the calm before an electrical storm?
Yeah, and you trained yourself to be able to deal with all of that. So to say that there is a code underlying, there probably is. There's a code underlying everything in the universe.
Everything in the universe is mathematical too.
Therefore, if you could tap into that code, yeah, there's a possibility, but quite frankly, that code includes us. That code underlying the markets, because we are those markets. We are the ones doing the buying and the selling, and that is based upon our emotions. So if you could tap into a person's etheric body, you can tap into their emotional body, and you can look at a group of people and get the emotional aura of those people. You should be able to anticipate what the moves are going to be underlying, yes. How I can express that in computer code, I'm not that good with coding.
No, I'm not either.
And quite frankly, but you can feel it. And basically, that's what a person on the floor, a market maker on the floor, would do. They were tapping into an energy stream, and they were learning how to interpret what was going on.
Isn't that kind of sort of like tapping into the Matrix?
Yeah.
Was that was a yes?
Yes, absolutely. You really got to see. It was amazing to watch something like that, especially back in 1987 when the market crashed. It was an amazing thing to watch. Yeah, people were losing money. A lot of people made a bucket load of money down there. But the fact of the matter is, it was so much fun to just watch, to see how this thing could happen. Very fascinating. So yeah, there probably is a code underneath it. If somebody can tap into that code, it would be very, very interesting, besides just doing it in a movie.
And if you're interested in that, just check that out on Nexus magazine.
Yeah, that's interesting. So I'm going to have to go to the Nexus website and start looking at that myself. We'll have to do that. But yeah, it is interesting. Codes. Oh man, the stock market. Well, we'll see what happens. Interest rates are going up, guys. Don't worry about it. All you people that are nice and conscientious savers, you will be rewarded finally. Interest rates will have to go back up. So just wait, hang in there, be patient. You'll do all right.
And that's all we have time for this week, Matt.
The stock market, yes. Waxing philosophic about it. Well, guys, thanks for tuning in this week. Clint has been very hard at work and emailing a lot of people, and he will have some very interesting announcements for you coming up in the later weeks.
We have...
Not now.
No, we have an interview coming up this year.
Not now.
That we've been waiting for the last
not now.
3 years.
Yeah, so don't worry about it. You'll find out about it soon enough. As we said, Clint's been a very busy little bee doing his thing, and it's finally paying off, and that's really a good thing. Guys, thanks for listening this week. Clint and I will catch you next week for another edition of Beyond 3D.
Good night, everybody.
Cheers.
Just because you haven't experienced it doesn't mean it doesn't exist.